So yeah, another chance, another Zoom group, another chance to talk about this further emergence business. What is it? What is going on? Why are you here? Why would you be in this group talking to me? So chances are there's a lot of strange stuff going on in your life that you are having trouble making sense of. And I don't have all the answers, but I have a lot of experience in this particular thing. And I've called it further emergence because, yeah, that's kind of what's happening. It's an inner growth spurt. You're growing on the inside, just like your body used to grow on the outside and then stopped when you became an adult. Now, then it sort of switched over into replication. Now it's all the growth spurts are going on the inside. I was talking to somebody recently, and they were saying that they were talking to their teacher, not their teacher, their child's teacher, and they were talking about that their child went through a growth spurt, and the teacher was looking at them like, "No, that doesn't happen. That stops when when they're babies," which is crazy. Like anyone who's had a child would know that it continues right through adolescence, right up into early adulthood, really. You can just see it, and if you've got any, if you've had kids, you know what I'm talking about. But if you've got any, relations, nieces, nephews, or whatever, you can see it in them. You meet them one week, and then next week or next 2 weeks later, they're like 2 inches taller. So that's what's going on the inside. Except, I mean, if there's that kind of ignorance, yeah, let's call it ignorance. If there's that kind of ignorance about growth spurts in physical growth spurts, there's even less understanding of inner growth spurts, which is what happens. Um, so it's understandable that it's disorienting because we've got a lot of information. I mean, there's this kind of cliche thing of like, oh, we're swimming in information, but there's no wisdom. Don't know if that's true, but there is a lot of information. And it's easy to kind of get off track with the whole thing and like, what's it all about? Have I got this thing? Have I got, am I depressed? Why am I depressed? Or I'm, I'm so disoriented, or there's got this physical stuff going on in my body. And there's so many rabbit holes or blind alleys that you could go down about further emergence that are not really going to help in my experience anyway, if this is what you're going on, if this is what's going on for you. And like I always keep referencing back to, you have to check, if you've got any doubts in your mind, you got to check. Like if you think, God, maybe I'm just clinically depressed. Maybe that's what's going on. I'm not laughing about being clinically depressed, but I'm laughing because it's, we get to those places where we kind of collapse a little bit in the inside, and we're like, we want to just go, oh, maybe it's just this thing. Um, which is tied in with the cosmic joke generally, which I think when we collapse a little bit, when we drop when our mind just goes, oh, I don't know what's going on, those kind of things. So maybe we go, God, maybe I am just clinically depressed. Maybe it's not a growth spurt. Maybe, that John Dalton guy's completely wrong. Yeah. If you got any doubts about it, like, you got to get them checked. You have to get them checked. Not because you might be clinically depressed or not. That doesn't, it's beside the point. For me, like, the point of getting these things checked is to silence those voices, because going through further emergence is hard enough. And if you've got a persistent voice in your head that like I do it with hospitals. That's hilarious. Meaning, like, I'm probably not a hypochondriac, but I sort of feel like I am sometimes because anytime I get any unusual, I'm number one because I meditate quite a bit. I'm hyper aware of my body, right? So if I get any like funny little sensation or funny little unusual pain or ache, first place my mind will go will be, oh, that's it. It's two things it likes to fixate on. I'm having a heart attack or it's cancer, right? So if I've got a pain in my knee, it's like, oh, that's it, knee cancer, or any kind of pain. Well, because my father died when I was, he died from a heart attack. So and he died when I was young, like I was 9, so 9 or 11. Yeah, I can never. I always get a bit confused about that. Um, anyway, he so the symptoms, heart problem symptoms, were I'm probably more keenly aware of because it's kind of a thing in my family. So, any kind of pain here or any kind of funny pain in my left arm, I'm like, oh, that's it, I'm going to have a heart attack. So, for me, what I do with those two things is like, I go, oh, okay, well, I might be going to have a heart attack, or that might be cancer. And like from experience with treating people, like cancer is something that comes and goes, meaning we have like precancerous cells appearing and disappearing all the time. So I can go, yeah, well that might be cancer. That strange pain I've got, that might be cancer. And if it's like, oh my God, if my mind is like, oh, what am I going to do about that? What am I going to do? Oh, it's terrible. And I'm planning my funeral. I'm saying my goodbyes in my head. It's all like so dramatic. And if it persists, if it keeps going for a bit too long, and how long is too long is a very relative thing. But if it something just fell there. If it gets to the point where it's like, no, this is too much, then I'll go, right. Well, will we go to the hospital about that? Right. So that's my way of putting the brakes on because I've had quite a bit of experience of being in hospital as a child. Had my appendix out, had my tonsils out. I mean, it was in hospital where I was, where I had quite a pretty significant trauma when I was 3, and had my tonsils, appendix. I damaged my wrist quite badly when I was 13, and I was in. That was pretty bad. I was in intensive care. I think that was the last time I was in hospital as a patient. But then in my later life, I talked about my brother Derek, who was ill in the last Zoom group, so spent a lot of time going into them. My mother just died a little while ago, not a little while ago, a year and a half ago. But yeah, I was in and out to hospital seeing her as well. Okay, camera went there for a second. I was in and out going to hospital seeing her as well. So and I've been in to see people. So every time I go into a hospital, I'm like, I get really anxious. They're just, I mean, it's full of people who are very ill, who are having treatments that I find quite questionable. Like there's a lot of pharmaceutical treatments, and there's just places would. I'm not judging the people or anybody in the hospitals, but just for me, it's like this is a place I do not want to be in under care. So when my little mind goes, oh, that's it, I'm having a heart attack, or oh, that's a cancer, then I'm like, I let it go for a little bit, and then I go, okay, does that mean we're going to go to the hospital? And then it's like, hang on, hang on a second. I'm like, well, you're saying I've got cancer, and or going to have a heart attack, or maybe I should go and get it checked. And it's like, well, maybe it wasn't that bad. I don't want to go to the hospital. I don't want to go and get it checked. I'm like, okay, well, which is it? Like, am I going to have a heart attack, or is it cancer, or not? And I'm like, it's probably not. And I'm like, okay. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, fine. So, and then the voice is silenced, and that's kind of the point. That's just for me and how I kind of navigate that. And it's not like I'm getting into a fight with my mind. I know my mind is just trying to protect me and look after me. That's fine. But yeah, I can't. I don't want to let it go on for too long. I don't want to let it go into a loop. Looping in the mind is not good. You know, if you start off thinking one thing, like say with me and my cancer, heart, heart attack, cancer. I kind of joke about that, you know. Um, I'm sort of, you know, if I'm talking to, if I'm explaining it to someone, I'll go, oh, yes, yes, I had a heart attack, cancer. Anyway, I'll start off going, oh, what's that pain? Oh, what's that mean? It's this thing, cancer. And then, oh, what am I going to do? And oh, it'd be terrible if I died and funeral, blah, blah, blah. What's that pain? And I'm back to the beginning again, and it starts to loop. Once I feel like looping thoughts are not good, it's good to break them up if possible, if you can, in any way at all. So for me, how I stop the looping thought is like, okay, we're gonna go to hospital. No. Okay, well, then that's the end of that then. Now I'm not advocating that you do that, and I'm, you know, like what I am encouraging you to do is find a way to stop to silence those voices. Um, because for as long as you're kind of going, well, maybe I'm depressed, or maybe I've got fibromyalgia, or maybe I've got migraines, or maybe there's something really wrong. If, like, for me, it's enough to kind of go, well, are we going to go to the hospital? But, you know, that's just me. I know you know, that's different for everybody. But you have to find a way to get to that place yourself so that you can address that voice and kind of go, okay, so will we go to the doctor? Will we go to the psychiatrist? Will we go to the psychologist? Will we go and see a therapist? Will we go whatever? And if you're getting yes, yes, we should definitely do that. Yes, we should go to the doctor or whatever. Then you got to go to the doctor, or you got to go to the emergency room. You got to do whatever you've got to go to the figure of authority that your mind is latched onto. Because say with doctors, for example, we think like the general kind of consensus is, oh, we're very sophisticated. We've left the jungle a long time ago. We no longer live in tribes, and we're all very sophisticated and civilized. And in one way, that is true, but in another way, we're not as civilized as we would like to think we are, and certainly when it comes to the doctors. And I'm pretty sure this is for younger generations as well, but I certainly know for my generation and you know probably 20 years younger than me, the doctor was kind of held up as the authority on your body. Not you. You're not the authority on your body. Somebody else is, and they're called the doctor. And they have the same kind of power that witch doctors used to have in I don't know why the camera keeps going on and off. They have the same kind of power as that witch doctors used to have in the tribe. And there are studies on, and they're sort of frightening in that the studies are on how many people who have a terminal diagnosis die on the day that they were told they would die on. Meaning, they go to the doctor says, okay, Mr. Jones, you've got cancer. I'm terribly sorry. It's terminal. You've got 6 months. The number of people that died bang on the day of 6 months, it's really high. It's like 90%. So that's just to kind of give you an idea of how powerful the doctors are. So for me, I'm very careful about what I will let a doctor tell me about myself, um, because for me, like things in my observation of my body, things come and go. They pass through. You know, some things will look, you know, have a sort of flavor to them. I'll get, you know, like say like I do yoga, and yoga is a very it's a very healing kind of thing to do, and it very slowly releases trauma. I can say that like with some authority in that I've worked with, releasing, helping people release trauma for years. So I kind of know what it's like. And what yoga does is it does it, but it does it in a slow way. So, I can transit certain aches and pains that, like say, I might have a knee pain that would come and it might be really sore. Like I might for a couple of days have trouble walking up the stairs. And, if I didn't know what was happening, I'd be like, well, this is serious. I've damaged my knee. I know I haven't damaged my knee. I know it's just because I haven't done anything different. It's not like I've suddenly, tried to do some crazy ass yoga move that I never did before. It's just that I have it's like peeling the layers off an onion. It's got down to the point of something releasing in my knee, and while it's releasing, it gets a bit vulnerable, and then it comes back. So um, things do kind of transit through. So if you have a concern and you are like, oh, maybe I've got this fibromyalgia, or I've got, maybe something really serious is going on. Maybe I'm dying here. And you go to the doctor who has all the power of, as I say, the witch doctor. And the doctor he says to you, we've checked everything and we can't find anything wrong with you. Well, then those voices will stop. The voice in your head will stop going on about, oh, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And I've worked with people gone through further emergence, and they've had to go to the emergency room. I never actually thought about that before, but isn't it cute that it's the emergency room? Like further emergence. Okay, maybe that's just me enjoying that little thing. But anyway, they've gone to the emergency room, and had a pretty hard, harrowing kind of experience because emergency rooms are stressful places, particularly if you feel like something is bad enough that you have to go there. You're already stressed, and then you're going into an environment that's just hot and cold running stress and anxiety everywhere. So, they'll have had 28 to 24 to 48 very stressful hours, at the end of which they'll be told, we couldn't find anything wrong with you. And that's happened a few times with people. And it after it, they're different. They've changed. Sometimes like profoundly, and other times they've changed in that the voices are quieted now. Those voices in their head are quieted, and they're no longer have those questions. And the process of further emergence goes a little bit easier because they're not divided between maybe something serious and maybe it is further emergence. Because most people, where's the camera gone again? Most people who are going through further emergence, they have in their heart, they know it. I mean, further emergence is just the words I've put on it. Because, well, we need words, we need a name for things. But most people know, somewhere deeply they know what's happening, that they know they're going through a growth spurt. They know that there's a growth in consciousness happening. But depending on their configuration and their story and what's going on for them, part of it might be that they have to deal with their mind and their mind's perception of things.